Hello, checking in with like 94%, 94 to 95% of small game hunting. God damn it. Game hunting at the local gun club. I don't know why I want to say that other word. It just, maybe it's the coward getting mixed with the hunting. That's just terrible. Um, that is really, really terrible. But it is a book about misogyny, so maybe there's something in there. Maybe there's a black joke in there. I wouldn't put it past Coles because she's delving into dark territory. Though that said, I can't remember where I'm at. Um, we've hit it. We've gone into Dnnr. Yes, I think I'd said we'd gone into Dnnr, but there's in some ways that, oddly enough, it feels like things have lightened up, but that's only because you and I, whoever is listening to this and has read the book, have gotten through the section of the really horrible shit with Olive being sexually assaulted by Roger and various other assholes at the rest at that hotel, and Damien willfully not seeing her as she walked out because he was working at the desk, and him quitting his job and flailing around, and his partner kind of realizing exactly how damaged and how just, no, it's not going to work between us. There's no way I can help you through this, and you are probably going to suck me down. um Once we get through that, this section at the end where we've made it to Dnnr, and it's like I probably knew this from the beginning, but this is Valentine's Day, and this is Valentine's dinner, and most of the other restaurants in town have shut up shop because there's a blizzard a coming, and indeed, the snow is piling up and piling up in this restaurant, and um, the woman who actually does come over and start yelling at Calv and Raj as they are sitting there all freaking coked up and drunk, is Calv's sister Amanda, who has also been sexually assaulted by Roger. And there's a brouhaha, and Roger gets tossed out, and Cal follows him, and they forgot to pay the money. And what does George do but go over and intimate that Amanda needs to pay for their bill because they didn't pay for the bill as they got tossed out, and Cal just kind of hurriedly followed after Roger because he's a follower. Uh, and there's all this stuff happening. The snow, the blizzard is going more, and what happens? The power goes out, and there's this whole thing of like, oh, got to watch out for these candles. There's not enough candles, and we'll just burn them all the way down, but they're in glass things that might shatter, and it's like, oh, is the restaurant going to burn down? Are they're all going to be trapped there in the snow? And indeed, the power goes out, and Iris finally kind of snaps. Like, that she's basically been dragooned into doing the work tonight, and George has shown up, and she really doesn't want to be there, and there's this whole section of like, oh crap, John's put on this music, and it's the music that he's used to woo both his wife and his girlfriend, and it's like, oh shit. It's like, change it to something else, anything, he tells Ben, and they do, and it's not romantic at all, the music. But he's really freaked because his wife and his girlfriend are in the thing, and he knows that Iris is just sort of a ticking, because she's finally kind of coming to the end of her tether, and the lights go out, and it's like, oh, what are we going to do with all these people? And Iris actually kind of takes control and gets people going, takes their information, gets the cab list going, and all that stuff. She's the one that's sort of doing all this stuff, while she's also considered the slut or the whore of the restaurant by the rest of the staff, and they won't particularly socialize with her because they know she's sleeping with John, who's the boss, or at least the boss's wife, husband. um, and and yeah, and then the lights go on and people go out, And the lights go on, and Iris, who's just like just had suddenly a moment of just like, fuck it. All this stuff about John is just roiling inside of her. She says, fuck it. And the lights come on, and what does she do? She finds John fucking George on the salad bar. Class act. And she she loses it. She starts yelling at him. It's like, and I love you. It's like, why do you love my husband? And it kind of turns into a whole playlet here. I haven't mentioned before that small game hunting, um, small game hunting has a has doesn't use dialogue things. So, but she's been pretty good. I didn't actually notice it for the longest time, which shows how attentive of a reader I am. But so we get into this whole section. It's all dialogue, big block of dialogue of them just yelling at each other, with Iris at the very end getting kind of the big long speech there. And George is like, of course there's been others, I know, and it's like, well, you knew about it, and it's like, you've known about all these, and I'm going to tell everybody that you knew. And yeah, so that is where we're at. We're having this explosion now. At the same time, Olive did come back, and Damien saw her and kind of said, no, fuck off, go away, because he really doesn't want her to bump into Roger and Calv. Gives her money to go get cigarettes, and she gets harassed by some guys at the cigarette store with the lights out, and she just, she's so used to being abused and spat upon and just nothinged, that she doesn't really even take it in anymore. And there's a part of her that's just like, I don't think if this is what it means to be a woman, she doesn't want to be a woman. And I really have this horrible thing of, because like Raj and Calv go on the hunt for more drugs, because they need more drugs so they can drive the car, and it's like their truck, Raj's truck, and it's just this thing of like, fucking Roger is gonna fucking mow down Olive is my worries. There's all these things of like, I guess I care about these characters, that you're gonna mow down Olive, that the restaurant's gonna burn down, and Iris is gonna get taken out with it or something. I'm actually more worried about Olive she's like the scapegoat of this world, and you just think, oh, more shit. Just, if there's shit to fall, it will fall on her, and it's like, is a truck gonna plow into her and kill her, and she'll get buried by snow and not be found until the melt or something. I don't know. So I worry about her. And John's telling all of his meltdown in the middle of a storm. He's telling all his staff to just leave. It's like, we can't leave. There's no cabs, and it's completely a blizzard out there. We can't go anywhere. And just like, he's like, no, I don't care, because like, it's really, 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 really doesn't care about anybody. Does not care about anyone. And there's a funny moment where Damien's like, oh, I actually like John because his life is actually more fucked than mine, which is really saying something. Damien is completely drug addict, completely fucked up, completely alone, and it's like, but I'm not as fucked as John is. And there's this one section where George is just listing off all of the women, and it's sort of all the women by their body parts and comparing them to her body parts, and like, he's always, and John always is lying about like, oh, I always like, you're my type. I don't like other women. So you are my type, and it's like, fuck. So it's really good, and I'm hopefully going to finish it tonight. But I wanted to just check in now, because just before whatever the conclusion is, but that we're just almost at that point where is the restaurant going to burn down? Is Olive going to get mowed down? Is nothing going to happen? Painfully, nothing will probably happen, but these people will go on with their miserable lives. And there is some notes here of like, there's other couples at this restaurant who actually, love each other, and, don't fuck each other over, and are not horribly mean. Amanda and her guy are actually like, oh, here's somebody who actually cares about me. And she's sort of like, she's like, I do all this stuff to alter myself, but then I find myself with a guy who's happy with me as myself, which is kind of like a little frustrating, which I thought was hilarious from Amanda. Amanda, the friend of Iris, who's just like, you tossed everyone else to the curbside because you were so obsessed with this complete waste of space dude. And yeah. All right, I will leave it there for tonight. More videos later.